We say hello to Austin Price of VolQuest.com. He joins us every week. Thanks to Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. Austin, thank you for the time. As always, why don't we dive right in? Tennessee on the recruiting trail while also working on spring practice. The Orange and White game coming up April 15th. Is Tennessee adding a quarterback sometime soon with recruiting for next year's class?
Yeah, well, they're going to add a quarterback in the 2023 or 2024 class, Josh. Jake Merklinger will announce his decision tomorrow, and Tennessee seems to be the trendy pick here. As we head down the stretch, he had a really good visit last weekend. Normally, you follow the visits, right? He was here. He was talking about potentially taking another trip to North Carolina. That's not happening. So, normally 1-1 is 2, and Jake Merklinger would be a great addition to Josh Heupel and the 2024 staff. Someone that they pinpointed several months ago. Started working on getting him to campus more and more and more. And, they love his kind of combination of his athleticism, his arm talent, his mental makeup, and most importantly, his competitiveness. And let's face it, I mean, the other finalists there, North Carolina is probably the biggest competition for Tennessee. They have a much quicker path to the field. So that means, he just wants to come compete if he picks Tennessee tomorrow. And that's a good sign if you're Josh Heupel.
Tennessee make up any ground or move the needle any with Chauncey Bowens, who is the Florida Gator commit, who's from Florida, who came up take a visit to Tennessee?
Yeah, we'll see. I that one's hard for me to believe, Jason. He said a lot of the right things, but, ultimately long term, it's hard for me to see Tennessee being, in position to flip him. They have Braylon Russell coming to town Friday, running back from the state of Arkansas that they really like. He's a bigger back. They're involved with a few other, key running backs, whether it be Peyton Lewis or others. And, ultimately I just think Chauncey Bowens probably ends up staying in the state of Florida long term. But again, the way you let it play out, Florida's not very good again this fall. Lots of things can change.
Yeah, how much of recruiting, Austin, is even if you know that you're behind or you're trying to steal someone away who's really committed to the school, they're just willing to talk to you for a little while, maintaining relationships because between now and then you'll have coaching changes, you'll have seasons go one way or the other, and that can still open up opportunities even if they're not there right now.
Well, in the old days, 2-3 years ago, being the second place team in recruitment, wasn't very much fun. But now it's like, it's not bad being second because with kids, flipping around and going to the portal, they have a tendency to kind of go with who the people they know. And it's like, I didn't pick so-and-so school out of high school, but I really liked them. Now they still need a running back or they still need a tight end or whatever. And now, you can kind of get them on the bounce back. So, it's one of those things where, you want to continue to recruit kids. You never know how things are going to play out. And so it's important to kind of do your due diligence and kind of, make those phone calls, even if it's a long shot to flip a kid, because you never know how the season's going to play out, or once they get to that school, if they're going to be unhappy and potentially would want to bounce back to you.
Austin Price, VolQuest.com, is with us. He joins us every week thanks to Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. Austin, what has stood out to you in what you've seen, what you've heard since we last talked to you over the last week with Tennessee on the field during spring practice?
Just continuing to grow. They're trying to push a bunch of those freshmen, whether it be Nico or Nathan Leacock or, Arion Carter, others. And so when you're pushing those freshmen and they're, acclimating to the college style, the college atmosphere, the college way of life, practice, weight room, all that stuff, meeting rooms, they can kind of get a little bit of swimmy headed. So, I think a few of them are got their heads on a swivel, rightfully so. And, I continue to hear really good praise about Caleb Herring, Arion Carter. Ethan Davis continues to impress people in the program as far as, kind of newcomers. Other than that, it's guys like Gabe Judy Lally, the transfer from BYU continues to, do a good job, all around, whether it be on the practice field, in the meeting room, being a good teammate. they've all kind of drawn, really strong praise the last week or two.
What's Gabe's name again?
Gabe Judy Lally.
I like the way you say it. It's funny to me. Who are you buying stock in as a second-year player on defense from what you've seen and heard so far this spring?
I'm buying stock in Tyree West, James Pierce, Elijah Herring, Josh Josephs, if he continues to get bigger between now and August. Last year he kind of got on the field because he was just ridiculously quick. But now to take the next step and be more than just a one-trick pony, he can get on the field now as a speed guy, but ultimately you want to be more than that. And so, I think to take his game to the next level, he's just got to continue to get bigger and buy in the weight room, just like, I said a year ago, James Pierce needed to buy in off the field.
On the offensive line, Austin Price, VolQuest.com, what does that look like in having to replace Darnell Wright, who was a critical piece of what the offense was able to do this past fall? And then Jerome Carvin, I think, maybe an underrated piece in what they did offensively as a veteran guard. Both are gone. How do they replace those guys?
Absolutely, Josh. Replacing Darnell Wright, good luck. He was just so consistent, so healthy, so durable, so good. And, John Campbell's going to be the left tackle. They're going to, figure it out on the right side, whether it be with J.J. Crawford or Gerald Mincy or Dane Davis. They just need, any combination of those three just playing well or playing, playing serviceable, to be, I think, a good offense. Offensive line, from the tackle standpoint, to protect the way they push the ends up the field, I don't think you have to be unbelievable. You just have to be good enough, and that's what you're hoping that you can get out of that right side. And then replacing Jerome Carvin at guard, which is really guard and the backup center, I think that's a much more underrated or less talked about thing. But Andre Carrick is a guy that that Tennessee can play at left guard. Jackson Lampley, Ollie Lane, Addison Nichols. Any of those are guys that you can see at that left guard spot. But to me, that's totally up in the air. So out of this whole team, offensive line's the spot where I'm most concerned if I'm Josh Heupel going into this 2023 season, just based off the fact of there's a lot of unknowns there.
Swain, before we say goodbye to Austin, April begins on Saturday. You want to do any over-under requests going into a new month on the recruiting trail? What do you think?
How about we include March the 30th?
You're trying to juice the numbers.
Maybe. Yeah, AP. April is coming up, man. I know Tennessee's in a good place for a quarterback. How many other guys could be making a decision in April? And if there's a good feeling about some of those guys, where do you put the over-under at Tennessee being able to get some commitments in April?
Well, Max LeBlanc is a tight end from Chattanooga Baylor. I think he's pretty close. He'll take his last visit of the spring, the weekend of the spring game. He's going to Stanford that weekend. That is one to watch. I think Tennessee exited last weekend in a really good spot. There's a couple of different guys. I think Tennessee's going to position themselves pretty well in April. I think that they could get one or two. But most of these kids have really shifted, to let's take these officials in June. See, used to everybody took officials in the fall and of course in December and January. Nobody really does that anymore. So most kids have kind of, stopped the spring stuff all of a sudden. Like it's almost there's been a shift, and like really it's been shifting like in the last month or so, where you say, hey, I'm going to commit early, but I'm going to take my officials. So what it's shifting hard to is late June and then July decisions with everybody taking their officials in the month of June. So, like a guy like Edwin Spillman, I would have told you 2 months ago he's coming off the board in March or April, but he's pretty determined to take those officials in June to Ohio State and to Tennessee and then maybe one or two more, which means he is going to be a late June, early July or mid-July decision, and I think you're going to see that with several players. But LeBlanc feels like he could come off the board. Ronan O'Connell could be a summertime, but that one also wouldn't surprise me if he did something in the month of April. The offensive lineman from Page, So, there's an opportunity there for a couple, and, of course, Merklinger will come off the board tomorrow.
Recruiting, football on the field, all sports coverage. Keep up there, VolQuest.com, and every week you hear Austin Price right here on Josh and Swain, thanks to Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, making it unique, making it special, making it just for you. They want to be your jeweler at Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. Hey, Austin, thanks for the time as always. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, the best number 0, guys, Swapper Boy, Ronaldo Woolridge.
There you go. I like that.
Everybody.
See you guys.